All right. Hello and welcome to the Gunnar Vibe. Interesting game today. Talking or speaking with me about the game at Stanford Bridge is Varun. As always, Varun,
Hey
welcome to
Arun, how's it going?
the channel. Doing well.
Yeah,
Um, how do you feel? Just a quick reaction to the initial reaction to the game. How do you feel?
I I mean at minute 75 before we started our comeback, I think I had resigned to the fact that I think it 2-0 was a fair result. And I had considered that we don't deserve a point today, and I think we were chatting the same thing as well. But fair play to ourselves, and we clawed back, like at least to be undefeated. I think it's a fair result. That's my, quick thought. What about your thought?
I don't know if I can call it a fair result. To be honest, Chelsea were more aggressive. It felt like they wanted the game more than Arsenal did.
Right.
On to the second balls, they were very aggressive in their press also. Like literally everywhere, it felt like a Chelsea player was there.
Yeah,
At the same time, Arsenal was not playing well. So
correct.
overall, I didn't feel like Arsenal really deserved it.
Yeah,
But if you really want to be a champion, you want to have
yeah,
the what is it called, morale boosting comebacks, and you need to have that character in the team to show that you're not letting go of a game regardless of where you're playing.
correct.
um
Yeah, I think Declan Rice showed that today. And I think the only reason I called it fair, because if you look at Chelsea's goals, they were like none of them were actually, I mean, like the penalty I think was suspect, right? I think it was a header and it collided with Saliba's hand. I don't know. I in on another day it would have been given not a penalty. So that was like I think one advantage to Chelsea. And then the second goal was just, it was a cross that just went in.
mhm.
But beyond that, Chelsea didn't have clear-cut chances either. Those were the only two, big chances that they had, and they somehow converted it. And and we did the same. We barely had two to three chances, and that's about it. So
Yeah,
KG game, but I expected better from Arsenal. But like based on what we saw, as you said, we probably didn't even deserve to win the game. But somehow we managed to come back with a point. So I take that as a bonus.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the starting lineup. What did you feel looking at the team sheet?
I think starting lineup was great, except only thing for me, I would have started Partey instead of Jorginho. That was the only change I would have made, but not sure what the decision was to, keep Partey on the bench, and which we didn't even get him in the second half. Beyond that, I think it was a strong 11 from Arteta.
Yeah, I was uh I was happy to see Saliba and Saka in. I know Saliba was injured, Saka was injured for the Man City game as well. I don't know if Saka was still 100%. It didn't
Correct.
feel like it was 100%, but you can sense, although he didn't get anything from Cucurella pretty much the entire game.
Yeah.
Um, you can see why he's a big player, why he needs to play every game.
Yeah.
He was the one who got us back at the end, with that
Correct.
pass for Trossard.
Yeah. We just had a quick chat, like when me and Sarah were watching. We're like same discussion as you texted. Why did he put Trossard in for Martinelli, where he was always a threat,
Mhm.
versus Saka was poor, but then Saka proved us wrong. He just needed that one chance, and he created the goal. So
Yeah.
that's why, as you said, Saka is Saka, and you even on his worst of days, you have to keep him on the pitch sometimes, and he
Mhm.
basically proved Arteta's decision.
Yeah. Yeah, the first half, at least it started pretty difficult for Arsenal. It was just like the Man City game, we were a little cagey, circumspect in the defense. Remember literally in the first 5 minutes, Sinchenko giving the ball away at the
Yeah.
box, and we had to block a couple of shots. What did you feel about the first half? I know we conceded as well, so we can talk about that too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, defensively I think we need to change something. I feel Zinchenko needs to be replaced with Tomiyasu, like as a permanent setup, because I feel we are very open, due to his, mobility. Like, yes, he does offer like, forward mobility, but the thing is he's defensively very, very poor, like Zinchenko. So, and as you saw when, Tomiyasu came, he actually stabilized the back four in the second half. I feel
Hmm.
that's what we are missing. And he seems out of form, right? His forward mobility is not as it was last season, where he was creating goals and things like that. So I think we didn't offer anything in the front on the first half. We were just passing the ball sideways. I think that was a lot of like side passing that kind of bugs me a lot. But that is credit to Chelsea. I think they choked Odegaard and Saka. As you said, Kukurea was very aggressive on Saka, and Odegaard was also kind of man marked, like almost across the board. They were both missing in the first half. And if for Arsenal, if Saka and Odegaard are nullified, basically you have nullified our threat. And I think Chelsea did that successfully. So, and unfortunately, we couldn't create any chances because
Yeah.
those are the two main outlets for us. So I think credit to Chelsea, rather than us. I mean, of course, Odegaard was missing all game. Unfortunately, today it was an
Hmm.
off day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you pointed out Sinchenko's defensive roles because that proved to be the area of the pitch which was a little circumspect, to be
Yeah,
honest. You see Zinchenko coming into the midfield, and like you also mentioned, there is like sideways passing between White, Gabriel, and Saliba,
yeah,
struggling to find space between the lines. The midfield was well marked. Rice was, I think there was a lot of space that was crowded in the middle, like Rice, Jorginho, and Zinchenko taking those areas.
yeah,
There was a bit of time, like between 35 to 40 minutes, I think,
yeah,
when Rice was allowed to move a little further ahead.
yeah,
And that's where we saw a little bit more going in that direction, with especially on the left hand side of our attack. Gabriel Martinelli was getting a little bit more room because of
yeah,
his moves. But yeah, that first goal where I think it was Sterling who crossed from the right hand side,
yeah,
and the unfortunately the header from Mudryk hit Saliba's arm.
yeah.
I know that's controversial. What did you think about the explanation that came in the commentary? It said that because the ball was heading to the goal, or it would have been a goal bound shot anyways. His
Yeah.
arm was leaning too far out, which kind of blocked it.
Correct. I think that's a fair, or like, like a mid-ground explanation. But like if you're in that heading situation, like no, like even if it's Saliba or anyone, you cannot just move your arm out. You're actually focusing on the header. So it was a very, 50-50. Maybe it was heading towards the goal. Maybe that was the reason of giving it. But humanly, I don't think you can move your arm out midair. If
Mm.
you're on the ground, you can move your arm out. But I mean, we have to just take it, I guess.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, VR comes up with a weird decision, right? Like we didn't get those two, like, two yellows from Kovacic, or like a
Mm.
single red. Unfortunately, VAR has not been working for us, as in like in terms of decision. But we did see, for example, against Man United, Garnacho's tight call was given, right? And that day it worked for us. We were happy about it. Today we have to be just accepting of the decision, I guess.
Yeah.
On the day, we deserve to be behind, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, that's how I look at it. Yep.
That was, I think, one of the more clear-cut chances. I like sometimes that um, these decisions need not be subjective. I know sometimes they say it's the proximity of the player, how far out his hand is it actually going to the goal? But when we were growing up, we were like, if it hits the hand, it's a penalty, regardless of where you are. And that's what it felt like. I hope this means that there is going to be consistency, and it's not going to be changing between
Yeah.
a referee to another referee from one game to another. But yeah, like you said, fair game, fair call. I felt Chelsea deserved it at that point, the way they were playing, very aggressive. But from then on, obviously, that was like in the 15th or 16th minute. There is still 30 minutes to the half. How did you feel about Arsenal's response, or maybe a lack of it?
Yeah, we didn't we were I think it was raining as well, and for some reason seemed like Odegaard Odegaard doesn't prefer a rainy pitch or something, but he had like barely any sniff of the ball. Him and Saka were almost absent in the first half.
Mhm.
First half was like dead rubber. We didn't do anything actually. Like the pass, even like in terms of completed passes, we were like almost. We had more possession, but the possession was not threatening. So we were just again, as I said, passing around between us and no attacking threat. I don't even remember if we had any single chance in the first half. One other thing I observed was with the physicality that Chelsea have, these are the games where I think where we call out a big striker. That was missing, right? Uh, we don't have that big striker to at least, like, for example, when David Raya was, lobbing the ball up top, at least when Havertz came on, he could at least, chest the ball or head the ball down. But with like people like, we like Jesus and Ketia, we just don't have that like, depth in terms of height.
Mhm.
That was actually like also a factor because Jesus had an off day too. I think he could barely hold the ball. He was giving away cheap passes. So he had a couple of good opportunities, but I don't think um, he could convert them. But I think that is a poor half. Like we we can go over every single player, but I think overall, I think the team was like not in its and also like I think with Rice not in his original number 6 role. Today he was playing, as you said, a number 8. I don't think we were all like cohesive. Like we were just
Mhm.
kind of a little bit confused. And maybe if Partey was there instead of Jorginho, Rice would have been a little bit more secure, like going forward. I felt like Rice was struggling between, being an 8 and a 6, and
Mhm.
neither was he creative nor was he was like struggling in the middle as well. But I'm glad we got to to the half just 1-0. Otherwise, if Chelsea had their way, they could have, been more dangerous.
Right.
Luckily, they weren't. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, I remember a tackle from I think it was Palmer on Gabriel at the start of the first half, and it felt like after that Gabriel was not
yeah,
in the races, like he was not charging to the goalkeeper when he had the ball. But yeah, like you said, it was pretty dull
yeah,
first half for Arsenal. It was just passing sideways or behind. There was no real like Gabriel Martinelli was not charging to the fullback. Saka didn't have any space. Odegaard was literally not having any touches at
right,
all. So good to have that first half. Hear the first half whistle,
yeah,
but second half started and we gave away the goal pretty much straight away.
yeah.
What did you feel about the goal? I know it was a bit of luck, but what about Raya's positioning and such?
Yeah, I mean, first, I mean, they came with a plan. I mean, they were like, if we go 2-0 up, right, one pedal, we have 3 points. So they actually had that plan. Whereas we were still having the hangover of the first half, right? We were still not like, still like the first 15, 20 minutes, we were same. Like until minute 70, I think we didn't show any urgency. Martinelli had a few decent runs, but again, it wasn't for any. He had so many good crosses in the box, but again, we didn't have that big striker. Like, Jesus cannot like jump up and like, there's Colville and like those big guys in front of him. He couldn't compete with them. It
Mm,
was a little physical in that box. But other than that, we didn't have any attacking threat. And unfortunately, as you said, like we just immediately conceded the second goal. And we were like, I thought we were dead and buried at that point, to be honest. And we were lucky to not concede the third goal when Raya did the same mistake as Ramsdale. He passed it to, Cole Palmer, and then he unfortunately saved it. Because if that had happened, I think it was game over. So that was the only bright spot. He kept us in the game. And until the second goal, until our first goal, we were like dead and buried. And I think the team had also accepted that this is it. We are like going away with nothing today. But there was some great leadership in Rice. So kudos to him. Otherwise, we were like, it was gonna be the first defeat
Yeah.
of the Premier League season. So yeah. What
Yeah,
were your
we were talking about the same, and I felt like there was no way Arsenal was able to would have
yeah,
scored. It didn't even feel like that we were creating any chances. Well, just like Raya made a mistake, we have to thank Sanchez who made that mistake as
yeah,
well for Rice to score.
yeah,
Beautiful goal. I know the goal was empty, but there's still quite a ways to hit the ball. I think. Just looking at the curve on the ball, I felt like there was a point where I thought that it would miss the goal
could
as
go away. Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah,
But what do you feel about the substitutions? Like starting from the second half, I think they said in the commentary that Zinchenko was injured. He saw Tomiyasu.
yeah.
In fact, I felt very secure when Tomiyasu came. It really felt like there was no attack coming from Chelsea's right hand side at all,
Yeah.
thanks to Tomiyasu being there. What did you feel about the rest of the substitutions?
I think today again, substitutions were again spot on. I mean, Smith Rowe and Nketiah didn't. Actually, Nketiah had a great chance. He could have converted. It just, skipped the goal. And Havertz was good again, holding the ball high up. I think he was the one who held the ball and then he rolled it to Saka for the cross. And Trossard converted. And I think all the substitutions did good. Trossard is time and time proved that he deserves a start. But Arteta has a plan, I guess, for everyone. Like with I think additional minutes getting added this season. I think he has the big picture in mind, right? It's not like a 90-minute game anymore. It's more like a 100-minute game. So
Mhm.
he's like, I can still squeeze out 30 minutes for every substitute. And I think he's doing it well. Smith Rowe was not as effective, but I think everyone else, Nketiah was good running the lines, but again, not threatening. But Trossard was magnificent. I mean, he got that second goal, and for some reason, I felt like after the second goal, we could have gone for the third, but we decide. I think it felt like we were fine with the 2-2.
Mm.
Just stepped the pedal, and we were like, okay, this is it. So fair play. I think that was those two goals were awesome.
Yeah, after the comeback, obviously, it felt like both teams could have pushed on. There was a couple of good substitutions from Chelsea also. I think Jackson had came.
Jackson. Yeah.
He had a chance to score. Thanks to Raya again to get the ball off of his feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall disappointing, but at the same time happy that we at least secured a point and we are still unbeaten. We are not top of the league still, but there is still a ways to go, and it's definitely a good sign that we have shown character, we have shown some spirit, despite the poor
Poor.
poor
Yeah.
performance overall.
100% agree. I think these are the games that prove, if you have the wherewithal to go and win the championship, like at least bringing up a point from nowhere. Like we were like minute 77, we were like, this is it. But from that point to, get back a point, I think that's sign of, we are challengers for the champ. I wouldn't say champions yet, but we have the mental strength to bring, bring the championship. So fair play. I think we didn't deserve to win. We didn't even deserve a point today, but we still managed to gain a point. And I think kudos to the team, like everyone, including the first 11 and the substitutions. They were awesome today. I think Arteta has learned, if you saw like a pattern from last season to this season, he has the depth and then he's actually using them to the fullest of extent. I think that's awesome. Maybe one other additional sub that I would have done is bring Partey on, because then maybe we could have gone for the third goal, but I guess they decided 2-2 is fair. That's fine for today. So
I think by then we had already used our five subs, if I'm not.
I think so. Yeah, we had bought in Tomiyasu, we got in Havertz, we got Trossard and Smith Rowe. Maybe we did have one sub, but maybe he could have brought in Partey for
I
Jorginho.
think we got NKT also, right, for
Oh yes,
strike.
Enketia for Jesus. I think yeah, we had burnt all the subs today. But I feel we are missing a striker though. I feel like we are relying too much on our wingers for goals. And if you have an additional striker, 20 plus goal striker, we are just gonna keep winning games. I just don't know why we are not. Maybe there is a plan in January.
Mm.
Uh, that if we are like, in the top two, I guess the club has some plan in place from what I feel, so that we can actually bring the championship. I don't think we should wait for the next summer to get a striker. We can actually win the league if we have a striker now. So I hope, fingers crossed, we have some tough games. I mean, like Sevilla away is, 2 days from now, and then Sheffield United should be easy, but I'm actually looking at the score right now. Man United are actually struggling. They're actually 1-1 with
Mm.
Sheffield United, 74 minutes.
Mm.
So, but luckily it's at the Emirates. Hopefully we can experiment a little bit more, find the best 11, and prepare for the next game, which is actually Newcastle away. I think that's going to be a big one. And
Yeah.
so, unfortunately, Newcastle have hit good form. So, but again, we should be confident to go in and get something back. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, if you ask Arteta, he will be talking about the next game, which is Sevilla. So he'll be starting to prepare for that game. What do you feel our next preparation for our next Premier League game would be like? Would you want to change something in the formation or the attack, or what do you feel would be the
I would just do two changes. Bring in Tomiyasu for Zinchenko, and put in Partey instead of Jorginho. Keep everything the same. I think we should be pretty good. And we have, Havertz, Trossard, and potentially Nketiah as subs. I think that's a very strong lineup. Um, and maybe, like, I think we are also a little bit under pressure in the Champions League. So I think, as you said, thinking from Arteta's side, we should focus on winning against Sevilla. I mean, today Sevilla drew 1-1 with Real Madrid
Mhm.
at Sevilla's home, so it's not going to be an easy game, and we need that.
They have a new coach as well, so they have a
Yeah,
new coach bounce.
yeah. So they have the new coach bounce. Away at Sevilla is always difficult, and we are actually under pressure because if we don't get the win, then our group is wide open, right?
Mm.
So I think definitely we need the win, going into the game. And then I think that'll also kind of guide us to the weekend. So I'm less worried about next weekend, but I'm more worried about Sevilla game.
Champions League, yeah, yeah, definitely. Arsenal need to concentrate on both sides, like be it Champions League, and the immediate attention obviously will go to Sevilla, and we'll see how things are. It looked like Zinchenko is injured. It looks like maybe even Jesus is injured, so we may see some changes. I I feel there might be a time. This might be a good time for having Havertz start, maybe as a striker. Like you said, Trossard could come in as well. Maybe he could be the left eight.
Mm.
I did sense that the previous game against Man City and this game, Odegaard was not in form at all. So
Yeah.
it might be a good time for him to be substituted or moved.
Or give Smith
Uh,
Rowe
yeah,
a chance to prove himself,
yeah,
and as well
yeah.
as
Smith
Odegaard.
might be the
Odegaard needs to be. I mean, I know he's the captain, but unfortunately, he's just not been doing anything. Like, I mean, for the last two games.
mm,
So yeah, maybe a good time to rotate a little bit, and give, as you said, give everyone a little bit chance. I would actually even rest Saka and give Nelson like a chance, because Nelson also deserves a run of games. That's the only way you can keep everyone fit, because if you just don't play them enough, then they're not going to be effective when they come back. So I feel like, Nelson, Smith Rowe, and like, maybe we're asking too much. Maybe Arteta would experiment in the EFL Cup against West Ham. and not play too much around with the Champions League, as it's like a lot of risky. But
Mhm.
maybe for the weekend you could do those changes.
Yeah. Like you said, Arteta would not be keen to make a lot of changes for the Premier League or the Champions League, but definitely EFL Cup is coming up. West Ham is not going to be easy, but still, it's time. It might be a good place for us to start our reserves.
Right.
But I think what are your, let's say, let's talk about who was your player of the match.
I feel for me it was Rice.
Mm.
He, not just in terms of like his passing, and I think he took the game by himself, right? Nobody was ready to step up from Arsenal, and I think he did that. And he, if he didn't score that or he didn't take that chance, we would have probably lost the game. So I feel he deserves credit for that. And behind Odegaard, I feel he's like Arsenal's next leader. So kudos to him. I think he was our man of the match, and everybody else was okay, decent, but I think he stood out to me today.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Rice obviously seems to be the player of the match in every game. I will go a little different. I felt very confident as soon as Tomiyasu came in. It felt like we were more secure in the back,
Yeah.
and he was doing the same things like Zinchenko was doing, being available in the midfield, and also I think he made a couple of good tackles.
Yeah, he covered Jackson a bunch of times. I think he shielded the ball like without
Yep.
making. He was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
Tomiyasu deserves like a lot of credit. Yep.
Yeah, so that I feel I'll give Tomiyasu the player of the match for me. Obviously, he was not in the score sheet like he was close to the goal in the previous game. This was a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's end at that. A little disappointing, but definitely a lot of good character shown by
Yep.
Arsenal. Any final words before we wrap up?
Get the win against Sevilla, so that we can top the group and not put ourselves in too much trouble.
Yeah,
Because if we get to 10 points or 12 points sooner, we can rest our players for the last couple of games. So
yeah,
hopefully we can get our top spot sealed in by game 4, right? So for that we need 2 wins right now, and that's the only aim in the Champions League. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We'll see what happens. The next game comes very quickly. I think it's on Tuesday. But well, we'll wrap it at that. Thanks, Varun, for joining.
Good, Arun. Always a pleasure, and let's catch up again maybe after Sevilla, or if not, definitely after the Sheffield United game.
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, have a good day. Take
Have a
care.
good day. Bye bye.
Bye.